Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Little Give. Today we have Mandy with us. Mandy, go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, tell us what you're all about.
Hi there, I'm Mandy Nicholson, and I'm from Scotland in the UK, and I'm the creative genius consultant and an artist, an author, a creative retreat owner here in Scotland, and I help creative women to launch, grow, and scale their businesses and make more money.
Wow, that's quite the pitch there. Tell us how you got into that.
It was a loving push from my late husband, who told me to stop talking about it and just do it, because I went to university, ended up in a proper job like most creatives do. And I spent years with this void inside of me talking about wish I could make money, because I believed the myth of the starving artist, which a lot of creatives do. And he gave me a push in 2018, and I launched my business in 2019. Just before the pandemic hit us. But it's been really successful right through the pandemic and continues to be.
Wow, that's so cool. There's so much to unpack there. So tell us what your favorite part of what you're doing right now currently is.
I love everything. And it's so joyous to have a job where you love everything you do. But I particularly love running retreats, because I love to get a group of women here to my mini castle, as I call it, and really help them to see their value, their worth, and go away with some really clear plans, motivated and inspired to take on things that they never would have before.
So how did you first become motivated and inspired and all the things that you do for others? Generally, when we do those things for others, it's because maybe somebody did it for us or we came into that knowledge somehow. Tell us a bit about that.
It was probably a little bit different for me, because I had an accident in 2009, which triggered a series of unfortunate events and took me from a six-figure job in the corporate world to rock bottom. And I knew I ended up as a single mom, 2 kids, 2 dogs, and I knew I had to rebuild my life. And that's what I wrote my book about, The Life I Won. Because I looked at all of those losses and said, what have I got that I can use? And I built a series of businesses. And what motivated me was my children and helping people. I'd always been a successful manager in retail because I helped people to achieve more. And I love that. So, that's what's inspired me, really, seeing people thrive, including my children.
Can you give us an example of the most common things you see with your clients, what they're struggling through?
Yeah, without a doubt, creatives are very different. We think differently. And with every single one of them that comes to me does not value themselves. They struggle with their self-confidence. They're chasing shiny objects and doing lots of things instead of doing one thing to actually make money. They're all over the place. For good reasons, because they're coming up with a million creative ideas, but they think so differently to neurotypical people that it can be difficult to rein all of that in. So for me, I think I'd describe them when I first meet them as usually frustrated and confused.
I see. So what tip would you give them right off the bat? Would it be manage your calendar better, manage your thoughts better? What exactly kind of tip would you give somebody in that very situation?
Manage your calendar better wouldn't hit with a creative. It really wouldn't. Because they don't. I would say find a way that works for you to plan better without having to fit into what people traditionally tell you to do. There's always a way that can work for you. Do it creatively. I do.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's taken me some time to do that too. I'm very creative. I have a million ideas every day and I do a lot of different things. And it took me some time to really figure out how to manage what I do. And my mind's pretty simple. I have 2 lists, one of all the ideas and things I'd like to do, and a list of my non-negotiables that I have to get done. And then depending on my mood, if I feel like checking out boxes on this side, I do. If I feel like checking out boxes on this side, I do. That way I can always stay in a mindset of movement rather than stagnation, which when you're creative, you have 50 million things going on in your mind and you got to figure out how to get one to get action taken and get it done. Is that something that sounds in alignment with the kind of work you do?
Yeah, totally. And I try and do it in a creative way. So I do great big 4-foot mind maps with Sharpies on the wall and show them that planning does not have to be linear. I use a system called rocks, pebbles, and sand. And I say, get the rocks in your planner and your diary or whatever you want to call it. And then everything else is a nice to do, but keep the rocks there, and they're a bit immovable. Focus on those. Those are your non-negotiables.
Hi, my name is Justin Clark, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Driving Single Parents, a 501c3 nonprofit serving the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, Texas. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the great work that our organization is doing for the citizens of San Antonio. What you're about to see is just a few photos and videos of the way that we're changing lives for single parents in and around San Antonio, Texas. Our first giveaway took place in April of 2017, just one short month after the formation of our organization. John, a Bexar County resident, was the victim of a horrible drunk driver incident. He and his daughter survived the crash, and we were so proud to give our first car to this deserving family. Fast forward to 2020, a very difficult year for nonprofits. We were able to secure 4 vehicles for single parents in need. Our organization, including our board of directors, list of partners, and portfolio of people we've been able to help in San Antonio, continues to grow, and it's all thanks to donors and local community organizations that have helped us along the way. This giveaway took place in 2021 and shows that we continue to help single parents even after the struggles brought about by COVID-19. Because of limited funds and the overwhelming need, we at Driving Single Parents are incredibly selective with the people we help. Some are victims of domestic violence. Others had a spouse pass away tragically or otherwise fell on hard times. These single parents show adversity in the face of challenge and aren't looking for a handout. We offer a hand up and help get them back in the driver's seat. Many of the single parents we help go on to graduate college, get promotions, get married, mentor others, and some have even been so touched by the gift we gave them that they have decided to join our board of directors to pay it forward and ensure the continued growth of our organization. If you would like to help our organization continue to grow and continue to help single parents in need in San Antonio, Texas, and Bexar County, Texas, we would really appreciate your support. Please visit us online at www.drivingsingleparents.org. Thank you.
I love that. It's so interesting how the mind can work for you or against you. But all of my life, I thought, well, I do this wrong and that wrong, and I should be like this, and why can't I be like that? And once I figured out, like, wait a second, I just have to figure out how to work with my mind instead of against it. I was really able to move the needle into my favor. Is that kind of also kind of what you experience a lot in your work?
All the time. I'm currently working on a new book called Beyond the Ordinary, Navigating the Mind of Creatives and Neurodivergent, because I see a real synergy between that neurodivergent mind and the creative mind. There are lots of similarities. So it seemed like the next step for me to actually write about it.
Can you tell me a bit about the similarities that you see in those two types?
Well, I've got 2 children on the spectrum, neurodivergent. My son is autistic. My daughter is autistic and ADHD. And what I started to notice was all the things I'd raised my children trying to cope with in life were the same things I was dealing with in the creative clients that were coming through my mastermind. So that the procrastination, the chasing shiny objects, the mind all over the place, the challenging the status quo, perhaps speaking over people or interrupting, all of those things sit on the spectrum, but they're also part of being a creative. We are born to challenge the world, really, aren't we? And there's so many similarities.
Very interesting. I would love to just kind of dive into your author journey. I know that's a journey in itself. Tell us what first made you think I would like to become an author.
Well, I think first of all, it was the story of me losing everything with that trigger event in 2009, then rebuilding my life. I did try and write that story about 4 years later, and then spilt coffee on my laptop and lost it all. The life I won. So it wasn't ready. It wasn't ready to burst out into the world. And in 2018, when my late husband had challenged me to follow my dreams, I started writing it again, and it just flowed. And that was the beginning of, actually, I really like writing. And that book just came. It took me about 3 months to write it, which is a really short time, I suppose, for your first book. But I needed to get that story out there. And it's the first of 3. There are 2 more. And then there's the new book, the Beyond the Ordinary. So I think it's important when you're a creative, like you said before, your mind's all over the place, to have different projects that you can work on at the same time, because otherwise you get bored.
I 100% agree. You definitely do get bored. And then like also a mind freeze happens to me sometimes, where if I'm trying to just complete one project and I have to do it, and I know I have to do it and I have a deadline, and I try to stay focused on that one thing, I see my mind just freezes. It's like, ain't happening, isn't going to work today. Try all you want, beat your head against the wall, ain't going to happen. So I found as well, it's so interesting you're saying that, is that I could just switch over to a different thing, focus on that a little while, and then come back and be like, whoa, now it flows. Now it flows.
And
that's
that
so
happens
cool.
all, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was saying that happens all the time with all the different, I can be sewing and then painting and then writing and then coaching, and all of it just seems to ease into each other now. It's having that variety, but having a structure to it that actually makes me money is what makes the difference.
Oh, so true. It's so true. So you said you wrote the book in 3 months. That is quite the feat. How did you decide on the title? I think titles of books are just so important. How did you actually nail down that title?
It was, I struggled with the title because lots of different titles came to me. And I asked my network on social media what they thought. I told them about the book. I'd been sharing my story with them. They knew where I was coming from with it. And I asked for suggestions. And from those suggestions, I kind of picked out the things that I liked the best. And it was me that came up with The Life I Won, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without that brain power from the network of people that I have.
That's so great. And I love the title, by the way. I mean, that is just like, I like it whenever you see a title that just says it all. I mean, and that seems like exactly what it does. It's like The Life I Won. Whew, I wonder how she did that. So it's like begs the question. So I think it's a great title. So through your author journey, how did you decide exactly how to structure the book?
I mean, I wrote it as a true story, but I fictionalized it, if you like, and I structured it based on the series of events that had happened to me. So the dramatic opening was me having the car crash, and it wasn't just a car crash. A stag jumped out in front of me on the motorway, which was like something that doesn't happen every day, and I swerved to miss it. And that was like that pivotal moment. So I then structured it as a chronology, if you like, a series of events that happened over 12 months that took me from one place to another. So it kind of had its own structure.
Hi, my name is Andrew Fraley, and I believe that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're in the San Antonio community and you need some legal help, call me at 210-725-4658.
I love that. That's cool how you took a true story and kind of fictionalized it a little bit. That's interesting how you chose to do that. So once the book was released and you actually held it in your hands, how did that feel to actually see all of that work that you put in come to fruition?
It was an amazing feeling because it doesn't even feel real while you're writing it. I chose to write it in the third person because I found that easier, writing about Mandy instead of me. And making her a character in the story rather than writing about myself. So all the way through the book, I was writing this story that Mandy had been in, and then the book was delivered, and it was really, and we actually launched it live at a networking meeting, which was fantastic. I self-published it first, and then I was picked up by an author a few years later. Couple of years later, I think it was. I collected 5-star reviews and then pitched it into some publishing houses. and was picked up by Austin Macaulay on a 3-book deal. So I was lucky, really.
Oh my goodness. I don't think lucky says it. I mean, it says like you really did the work and you put in the effort and people loved it. So that's beautiful. What was your favorite part of becoming a first-time author?
I think the feedback. When you read a review on Amazon and somebody says, wow, this just resonated with me. This changed my life. This made me get out of my seat and do something. This did this. That's what I love about it. The fact that you can impact people through a small square paper thing. And a lot of my clients that have come through the mastermind started by reading my book.
That's awesome.
They followed me, and then they've kind of said, you know, at some point I need to work with this woman, and that's what's happened. It's been a great lead magnet, if you like.
Yeah, that's incredible. Tell us about your next book. I know you have a new book coming out. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, that's the new one is called Beyond the Ordinary, Navigating the Mind of Creatives and Neurodivergents. And it started as a freebie. So about 3 years ago, I wrote a freebie as a lead magnet. You can still get that very freebie on my website now, mandynicholson.co.uk. And it's been there for 3 years, and it's the most downloaded freebie that I have. And all the way along, it's my observations of what I've seen in my clients and the neurodivergent and creative people that I've worked with. And it's 35 observations. And all the time I was writing it, I was thinking, this could be a book. This could be a book. So for the last 2 years, I've been writing the odd chapter. And then all of a sudden I'd written chapter 35 and had, 40,000 words. And I thought, right, okay, I'll publish it. And then I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could put some real stories in here from real women as well? So I put a little post out on Facebook and said, would anybody be interested in, coming along into the book? And I had 120 people within the first 5 minutes say, I want to do it. I want to do it.
Whoa.
So it's ended up as my part of the book, and then 38 authors coming to join us. So it's going to be a proper big coffee table book now.
Wow, that is so, so cool. Doesn't it seem so neat whenever something, it just kind of comes from your mind and then it turns into this big thing that's making an impact in the world?
Absolutely. And it's strange because after I'd made the decision to add 38 authors, because I ended up with 38 chapters, and make it a bigger book, I had a call from somebody who said, would you like to come and be a keynote speaker at this event in Manchester on the 11th of October? And I said, yes, I do. I will do that if you allow me to launch my new book there. So I then gave myself a really tight deadline for the book.
Hey, sometimes we need that as creators. We need that tight deadline, that moment of impact that we can make it a big grand gestures. That's really cool. Okay, well, I'm going to switch off to my little gift questions. I ask all of my guests 2 questions that I just love to hear the answers to. So the first one is, can you give the audience an example of a little thing that they can do in their community? It might just be a little give on their end, but might make a big impact on you and your life.
I think, in your community, I mean, I'm talking about my online community when I'm talking about my community. And I believe every week when I do my live that I give something of value that might be able to change somebody's life a little bit. A free training, free bit of information. It doesn't have to be War and Peace. It can be something really simple. And I do that every single Tuesday. I don't charge anybody. It's worth money. And I think it's something small that you can do and make it a regular habit.
I love that. Make a little gift that doesn't cost anything. That's beautiful. Yeah. And so can you give the audience an example of a time in your life where somebody did something little for you that might have just been a little give on their end, but really made an impact on you and in your life? Yeah.
I suppose it comes back again to my late husband, who, when we got together at the start, and it was a little give this, we got on so well in the first few weeks. And then he said, look, Mandy, I want to give you an out because I've got a life-limiting condition. and I don't want you to end up with me and then end up having to deal with all of that. And he gave me an out. And it made a huge difference to me, because when I chose to stay with him, I learned more in the 7 years we had together, and I was so grateful for them, than I've ever learned before in my life. And it's changed the way I approach life completely.
Oh, I love that. That's such a beautiful story that you made the choice knowing that. I'm sure that meant a lot to him as well. And the time you spent, it's just like you can't replace it. So
No, you
beautiful
can't.
story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So can you tell the audience about a nonprofit that you're excited about?
Really excited about this one, because this is one of my clients from my creative mastermind. And it's called the Crafters Collective. And Kelly joined me about 12 months ago. And she joined me as a resin artist. She was making products from resin. And she joined the creative mastermind. It was probably more than she could afford, but she did it anyway and took a huge risk in herself. And about 6 months into the program, there was a competition came up in our local area, which is Farnham near London, to win a shop for 6 months. Completely free, no rent, no rates, nothing. And I said, you should go for it. And I helped her with a pitch, and she actually won it. She won the shop for 6 months, and it's a big shop. And she decided to set it up as a community interest company, a social enterprise, and invite crafters in from a local area to sell their products there, and to do workshops for a local community and bring the community together through craft and art. She now has 40 crafters in there, and they are doing workshops and building the business. And she's just signed a 3-year lease. She negotiated a 3-year lease at a reduced price so she can continue to run that social enterprise company for another 3 years at least, and hopefully longer.
Oh, wow. That's so neat. That's so neat that she just kind of like, okay, well, I won this, and then what am I going to do with it? And came up with a way to really bring the community together. That's just a beautiful story. Yes. Thank you for sharing. So, and can you tell the audience, if they want to know more about you, your books, all the things that you're doing out there, your retreats, where they can get in touch with you and learn more?
Yes, they can find everything on mandynicholson.co.uk. That even takes them to my other website, theartbankdalbeatty.com. There we go. The Art Bank is on there as well. So yes, they can find out everything about retreats. We're actually fully booked for the year now. We've got no retreats left. So we're going to start opening up dates for 2025. They've been hugely successful this year. My creative mastermind is now an evergreen opportunity. People can join anytime they like. And you can find me on social media everywhere as the Creative Genius Consultant.
Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We really appreciate it. I've learned a lot about you and all you do. I think the audience is going to take a lot from this conversation. Thank you very, very much. You want to give the audience some parting words before we go?
Yeah, I think for me, it's believe that you have some value in this world, and that every small thing that you do makes a difference to somebody.
Beautiful. Well, if anybody out there wants to know more about Mandy and all she does, please do go visit her website, find her on social media, reach out and see how you can collaborate. Thank you again for being on, Mandy. And if anybody out there wanted to learn more about that nonprofit she mentioned, please do go visit that website. And if you're passionate about it, go donate. $1 or $5 can go a long way for these nonprofits. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next Sunday. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Little Give. If you would like to learn more about how I highlight ordinary people doing extraordinary things to help others, or maybe you'd like to be a guest, or maybe you know a nonprofit that you would like to see featured on a future episode of Little Give, you can find all the information on our website at littlegive.com. If you'd like to get involved with our kindness clip segment, please do send in those videos. Send them via email to cindy@littlegive.com. Or you can tag us on any social media under Cindy Witteman or #LittleGive. If you'd like to know more about our podcast, you can also find us on all major streaming platforms under Little Give Podcast. Please do find our Facebook group under Little Give TV show and join it. We'd love to keep you up to date with future episodes. Thank you all so much for watching, and I can't wait to highlight the next ordinary person doing extraordinary things to help others. See you next time.